So picture this. You have a 5-year-old learning to tie their shoes, and you have a 35-year-old learning to code. Would you teach them in the exact same way? Probably not. They have maybe the same process of learning, but they're going to have very different motivations, and they should both be approached in a different way. So let's talk about adult learning theory, or andragogy, and how that might contrast to pedagogy right after this. I'm Lindsay, and I cover instructional design, e-learning development, and all things online teaching and learning. The seminal theorist for adult learning theory is Malcolm Knowles. He's the father of adult learning theory, also known as andragogy. He introduced this concept to North America in the 1970s. Now, he was the first to come out and say, pedagogy is great, that's how we teach children, but let's talk about what really makes adults tick and how we might motivate adults and understand how they learn best. So he was the one to develop the framework that we still use today. So again, it's also known as andragogy. I also like to say pedagogy. Some people say andragogy, pedagogy. That's also correct. There's no correct way to pronounce it. We can all just disagree on how we pronounce it and do our own way. But this is a set of principles that recognize the unique learning needs of adults and the unique motivations of adults. If you are thinking about adult learning and you're teaching adults, you need to think about how you can help them be self-directed and how you can deliver something that's more experience-based rather than, just a lecture or something that's very basic. Adults want to understand the immediate application of whatever they're learning, and they want to be able to do some problem solving. If it doesn't relate to their immediate context, immediate needs, it's not going to be relevant. It's going to be less likely to be something that sticks for them. And above all, they need to know the why behind learning. Kids do too, but for adults especially, think about adults with limited time, busy lives, a lot going on. They need to know the why. They need to know why something is practical and applicable right away. So the core principles of this theory are that adults are more internally motivated and self-directed versus maybe children that tend to be more people pleasers. They'll do what adults tell them to, some kids. Kids are more likely to be motivated by external sources than adults are. Now, adults, when they come into learning experience, they're not just coming in as like blank slates. They have a really rich life experience and they have a real depth of knowledge as well, and they're bringing that all into the learning experiences with them. Adults are going to be more goal-oriented, and again, whatever they're learning, for them to really learn it well and be interested, it needs to be really relevant to whatever is going on in their own lives. They are practical. They do prefer problem-centered learning, so think constructivism. Think anything that's going to help them transfer this knowledge into their everyday lives, because adults are more likely to be solving problems, not just reciting information, right? And above all, adults need to be shown respect and treated as equals in the learning process. So gamification, for instance, has been a big trend in learning and development. Gamification has its place, but if that's the only way you're teaching adults is using, points and rewards and badges, that's not going to be a really rich learning experience. It's going to be really motivating to adults because those are external motivators. And adults can also feel disrespected by being forced to play games and learning. So this always comes back to knowing your audience, what your particular audience likes, dislikes, the way that they learn best. And what do you think about adult learning theory? I assume you're an adult watching this. Do these principles apply to you? What resonates with your experience? I'd love to hear it in the comments.